Welcome to Friday. It's the 25th day of March 2022. This Day Weather Podcast brought to you exclusively by Cowboy State Daily, Wyoming's news authority. Visit them at cowboystatedaily.com and on their Facebook page. Well, folks, it's springtime in the Rockies. Boy, it's going to be beautiful. Now, I doubt many of you have a scene like this photo here is, but with the cold weather we've had so far in March, this warm-up will probably send tulips and daffodils skyward here over the next 4 days, as temperatures are just going to be very, very mild. We'll have a fair day today. Temperatures today actually are a few degrees cooler than yesterday. There's a weak disturbance that's moving through the region. That disturbance actually produced a few showers last night and yesterday evening in a few areas. But as that system moves away, high pressure will build in strongly, and that's going to lead to a big warm-up over the next 4 days. I mean a big warm-up. But a storm system is going to move in late Monday and Tuesday. Typical spring weather in this part of the world. You get these 60s and 70s, and then all of a sudden you're talking about rain and snow again. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Starts late Monday night into Tuesday. We may end up with another storm system arriving late next week and next weekend. Not so sure about the second storm, but the first one is looking very likely. Now, ultimately, this is good news. It's nice to get some good weather, but it's got to get colder if it wants to get wet, and we need the wet. And we're going to get some of that coming our way. We'll also give you a La Nina update, some new data in to see where we're at with La Nina. Is it holding on? Is it going to go away? Is it going to be somewhere in between? Well, we'll have more for you there at the end of this podcast. Today's satellite photo shows a couple of things of interest. You can detect a little swirl of clouds up here. That's where the low is, up into the northern portions of the Gulf of Alaska. That is the system that's going to come down into the coastal areas by late Sunday into Monday. In the meantime, you can see the clear skies for the most part across most of the Rockies. We do have some mid and high level clouds moving the Pacific Northwest. This patch of blue here are the low clouds associated with that disturbance that's headed this way. We did see some showers yesterday evening and last night in parts of eastern Wyoming and western Nebraska. Some showers in central Nebraska this morning. But that system moves away. High pressure going to be building in very strongly. As we get into tomorrow, this is tomorrow, the low begins to form and come south out of the Gulf of Alaska with this nice ridge of high pressure moving on in. So we'll turn that frown upside down and have ourselves just a beautiful weekend of weather. One thing about this weekend is it's not going to be perfectly sunny. There's going to be a lot of high and mid-level clouds around. It could even be warm enough that the mountain terrain could generate a few showers. That's how warm it's going to be in this pattern. But this time of year, when you get these big warm-ups, it's because of a big low. And that's exactly what's happening. This low, the counterclockwise winds around it, drawing northward that desert air. So when you get a big warm-up in spring, there's a cool down coming later. And that's exactly what will happen. But before we get to that, here are the forecasted high temperatures. These are the same maps I've been showing you for the last couple of days. And you can see temperatures are going to be very warm both sides of the Continental Divide, getting very warm in the desert southwest. Look at those temperatures in Texas and Arizona and Southern California, getting very, very warm. That's Saturday. This is Sunday, and Monday is going to be similar. So we're going to have 3 days in a row where a lot of you are going to be in the upper 60s and 70s down in the southern areas south of I-70 rather. There's going to be some areas eclipsing 80 degrees. I think that's going to be a possibility in a few locations. Going forward, though, by Monday afternoon, we've got a pretty good looking low just off the coast of California. The good news is we're going to see some really nice rain in California, some snow in the Sierra Nevada as well. They need it. And when you get a system coming into central and southern California this time of year, you're likely going to spread that moisture into the Great Basin and Rockies. So this is actually a really nice situation. We're going to have a nice warm weekend. Then we're going to go into the work week and get a little wet, and we need the wet. So that's going to be good. So overall, this has a little bit of everything, this forecast does, as we go into the next 5 or 6 days. This next low up here is a question mark in terms of what it's going to do. We'll show you that here in a minute. As we look at the California precipitation, you can see a really nice swath into the central and southern parts of California, into the Sierra Nevada here. Could even see some thunderstorm activity as the system moves on in. So a nice looking storm for California. They need it as well, and some of that will spread into the Great Basin. This is the forecast chart for Tuesday morning. The low, main low, kind of slides its southeast along the coast, but a broad trough of low pressure elongated area of low pressure comes through the Rockies and high plains. Since it's elongated and stretched out, this will keep it from becoming a major storm system. But there's a good chunk of moisture associated with this system. So this is through Wednesday, and you can see a lot of green, a lot of blue, and a few patches of yellow. Could see some nice precipitation in this area right here. Southwestern Wyoming really needs the moisture, as well as northeast Utah, as well as northwest Colorado. I think you're going to get some nice rain and snow there. And I think there's going to be a nice shot of snow with this system for the mountains as well to help the snowpack. So the moisture isn't really concentrated anywhere. It's kind of spread out. And that's due to the elongation of that trough of low pressure. Behind that storm, as it moves into the Great Lakes, this is by Friday, April 1st, that next low digs in behind it. Now, there is some disagreement on exactly where this system is going to end up. Will it stay more north or go south? If it ends up going south like this, kind of tracking along I-70, well, it's probably going to be a rain-snow producer later in the week in this area here. So that would make kind of a 1-2 punch of storm systems next week, which would bring beneficial moisture, but cold temperatures. These are the temperature anomalies by Wednesday afternoon. So you can see a large part of the central and western United States is back to colder weather again. Not nearly as warm as what's going on. Now, there's no Arctic connection with this, at least with the first storm, so it's not going to get severely cold. But this is by next Saturday. So next Saturday could be polar opposite of this Saturday. So instead of the 70s, next weekend we could be just in the 30s and 40s. Hence why April can be a really cruel month sometimes. Now let's give you a La Nina update. A couple of things to point out. These are the sea surface temperature anomalies as of Wednesday. A couple of things to point out. La Nina still holding firm, especially in this area right here. These colder waters are just holding really steady. There was some weakening earlier in March and late February, but the colder waters have expanded a little bit westward. So this is still a very impressive weak La Nina. It's not strong or moderate, it's weak. But notice some warmer sea surface temperature anomalies now popping up there right here. And some of that will extend and eat away at the cold here. We still have some cool temperatures up here in the Gulf of Alaska and up here west of the Aleutians. That's going to help continue to form storms up here as we go into April. But La Nina is still there. The newest projections are showing that it's going to likely hang on for a little bit longer. The ocean heat content, if you notice, right here in late January and February, we had a little spike, a little bit of a warm-up and erosion of the La Nina, but since then the sea surface temperatures have cooled again. Nothing like what we had this fall and summer, but it's a very, very stubborn La Nina, and it's going to die a slow death. If we were to take a look at the projections, this goes out to November, December, and January. And all these different lines here show the different computer modeling of where they think the sea surface temperatures are going to go. The sea surface temperature anomalies are showing a little bit of a warming trend and a little bit of those cooler temperatures hanging on. The solid lines here represent some averages of the models. And so if we were to take the average of the models, you can see right when we get to this zero line here, and once we get out of the negative 0.5 territory, you're now into a situation where you're getting into a neutral La Nina. Another way to look at it, if we were to graph the statistical probabilities based on the modeling, so here we are, March, April, May, June. But you want to look here at the blue bars. The blue bars show the probabilities of La Nina. The gray bars, the probabilities of a neutral situation where it's not either La Nina or El Nino, you're somewhere in between, and red means El Nino. And what you're seeing here basically as we go through the rest of the spring and summer, we're going to be in a neutral phase with the Pacific, subtropical Pacific being a little bit colder than average, but probably not in the official La Nina category, which would be the deviation in sea surface temperatures of 0.5 degrees Celsius there near the equator. So a cool Pacific is still not a good thing, but we continue to see La Nina dying, but it's dying extremely slowly. And it's really not going to probably be till fall or winter or spring. Probably spring of 2023 before we get into an El Nino phase or get closer to that. So the good news is La Nina is fading. The bad news is it's fading extremely slowly. And it's bad news because colder sea surface temperatures near the equator make it drier. The 10 tends to be drier in the western United States. But when we look at the strength of La Nina this later spring and into summer compared to a year ago, it'll probably not be as cold. So the forecast is for slightly better precipitation chances this spring and summer than last year. That's an improvement, but we're not going to go gangbusters into a wet El Nino pattern this spring or summer. That's going to have to wait till next year. Have yourself a really good day, a really good weekend. Don't forget our Kids Journal giveaway. We'll see you on Monday.